All right. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Please let me know if you can hear me all right. Do 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 do. We're gonna wait for 5 minutes as usual, for everybody to join the stream. All right. Hello, 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 everybody. Can you hear me fine? Is my voice, as usual, very Viking-like? Call your grandma, call your friends, you know, as usual. If possible, share the link that we're streaming. I made a post on Instagram, so if anyone wants to help out, go to Instagram, hit that share button. Yeah, today is a very important lecture for me, especially because I think if you get absolutely nothing from this camp but this lecture, you should be all set up for your entire career probably. But we'll see how it'll go. Hi, crows. No, well, today they're kind of quiet. They talked to me a little bit in the morning, and now it's probably too hot for them, so they're just hibernating somewhere in the tree. How's everybody's 4th of July went? Especially in America, kaboom, kaboom, lots of fireworks. I just listened to them. I didn't actually watch them. I was busy with freelance work. By the way, yes, last lecture went very well with you people, so thank you so much for the support. We reached a lot of folks, so that was kind of fun and awesome. All right, we have 3 minutes till we start. Doom, doom, doom. Just normal fireworks in the background. Yep. It was so funny because I was sitting down preparing for today's lecture, and something just kept, making that noise, and I was like, "Luba, what's that noise?" She means like fireworks. I'm like, ah. Totally didn't put 2 and 2 together, and I usually like to think of myself as a smart person sometimes when it comes to like little things like that, but yeah, no kabooms. Yeah, all right, we have 2 minutes till we start. Do 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 do. Do do do. By the way, a lot of people already finished their frame and it's not even been 2 days, so good job on your assignments, guys. The main question will be this: how many people will endure and survive till the end? I'm very curious. I'll be very surprised if it's going to be above 50%, because usually with anything that people do, if you have a group, it's usually 20 to 30% max that finish. Even in my paid color and light courses that I do, it's usually maybe 60% who come through. Very rarely when it's 75 or 80%, but we'll see. Surprise me, guys. Maybe everyone is gonna finish their diploma and it's gonna be awesome and cool. Yeah, those are very low odds. Well, it's just because people burn out. People don't have, I won't say what it takes, just not the right moment, not the right time, Everybody's brain works differently, and sometimes, it's all about the right timing. When you kind of experience, this is my calling, now or never. For everybody, it's a different time. So maybe their time hasn't come yet, but not a whole lot have dropped out yet. So we'll see. We have 1 minute till we start. And some have full-time jobs. Yeah, true. true. People are here. People are joining. Cool. You know what? Let's wait for another 30 seconds. Then we'll start. I'm excited for today's. I'm a little bit worried because this is the most important lecture for me. But it should be good. Greetings from Argentina. Hello, Argentina. All right, let's start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Valhalla for Artists Camp Lecture number 5. Today we're going to discuss the crucial skills of a VISDEV artist. What do we do? You know, how do we make it in industry? And what qualities define a good VISDEV artist? And not only a VISDEV artist, but you know, any creative person in general. Because I found myself, you know, looking at the industry and questioning, why do so many talented people who have what it takes to be successful do not make it in the industry? And that kind of train of thought led me to a little list of qualifications, because I analyzed their behavior, their painting skills, their day-to-day routine. And from that, I concluded that not only painting skills are what really defines a successful VISDEV artist, but a successful mentality, approach to life, approach to day-to-day routine, how they deal with people, right? And how they use all of that to complement their painting skills. Because painting skills themselves, I would say, are 20% of a successful VISDEV artist or any digital artist in that regard. So let's dive in. What, in my opinion, are the crucial skills of a VISDEV artist? We're gonna draw a little, you know, a little Da Vinci Spankadoodle, and that's gonna represent all of you guys. You know, twink. So this is us. Beautiful, right? So I'm gonna give you a point A to point B little line. This is gonna represent your artistic journey, let's say to your first, you know, full-time visual development artist job. And to get there, first, we have to understand, how do we need to think? So I met a lot of talented artists in general. I hate them in a loving way because every time I work with them, I don't want to paint anymore. And at the same time, I want to paint even harder. Why? Because they're so good, you know? And since I was blessed with so many talented VISDEV friends and talented artists, I get to talk to them. And over the years, I figure out one thing that everybody has in common, right? They have an artistic eye on life. So if you are taking notes, first, it's an artistic perspective on everything, right? So what's an artistic perspective or an artistic eye is? Since we were children, since we were young adults, technically for our entire lives, what we did is every time we saw anything visual, if we experienced anything emotionally, if there was some kind of a hard situation in our life, all of that could translate into our art. So if you see a wire that is folded weirdly, it looks like a dragon, you know, or if you are arguing with a teacher in a classroom, you imagine her as a horrible sea creature that you're battling in a ship or something like that, right? So artistic eye or artistic perspective onto the world is something that is very hard to acquire through actual practice. You can practice it, and I will dive a little bit deeper into that later on, but it's something that usually our people are either born with, or people who grew up in that kind of environment that supported that, or maybe sometimes the environment was very hard on them and they needed some kind of escapism, and they would dive into this imaginary world because outside world was too hard for them to handle, and why artistic perception of the world is really important. Because if you are not going to have that, it's hard to find inspiration only through references, because it's other people's ideas and other people's artistic understanding of the world, right? So what you have to do is you either have it or you don't have it, and that's okay. To practice it, we'll gather. I'll tell you how to do it a little bit later. Second of all, right? So first is artistic eye, and secondly, it's discipline and hard work, right? Because a lot of people think that, well, I'm gonna go. So this is you in the chart. You decided that I want to be an artist. It's gonna be so epic, so awesome, and you paint a little bit, and there's the first experience of progress, and there's the first experience of what concept art is and what visual development is, and there's only so far you can go on a first feel of inspiration and novelty. At some point, inspiration or talent, a lot of people have talent in the beginning, and then when they just start pursuing their artistic skills, artistic career, they're carried by that talent from the beginning. And talent is not enough to get in an industry. In my opinion, hardworking artists who have discipline will make it in an industry with a better percent than talented person who's been carried by his talent all of his life, right? So second point is discipline. And excuse my, I'll just do the discipline. I have no idea how discipline is spelled, English second language, so let's say this is the right way. Discipline plus hard work. It's where you just, where you put your bum on the chair and then you start drawing. If you can develop hard work and discipline skills right here and right now, and you have talent, you are an unstoppable powerhouse that will conquer the industry. I know a lot of hardworking people who balanced out their lack of artistic talent with hard work, and they naturally outgrew the other counterpart that they had. Because I know a lot of talented people who started the journey with me, and they didn't put the hard work in. And 5 years from now, I'm on a different level that they are, and they are sadly didn't accomplish anything more than they're all right, they're mediocre. So please wake up at one time, set up your goals, figure out where you're going, and just put your bum there, and then let's go. All right. Thirdly, why am I putting love for your craft or love for art? Because love is a choice. Sometimes you can have inspiration in the beginning, and you can have your love for illustration and stuff like that, but sometimes that runs out, and you need to either rediscover your love for your craft, or you need to power through it, and then it will come later on. Because the thing is, if you don't love what you do, at the end of it all, when you make into the industry and you went into the industry for the whole wrong reasons, you will be miserable for your entire life. I know a lot of AAA artists who made it in the industry, and at the end of all, they discovered that they hated it, but then they got trapped because that's the only thing they're good at, but they were there all for the wrong reasons. Some of them rediscovered their love for art later on, right? But most of them, they would do the job at a AAA level, and they will be pretty successful at it. But if you ask them personally, they'll be pretty miserable. So another quality of a good VISDEV artist who just works in industry or wants to get in the industry or trying to make a decision to get into industry is you have to get into the job because first, that's how you look at the world. You come up with stories on your own. You love animation, you love games, you love this, and that, right? And you love just thinking about it. And you have to be super crazy about all of this, because I'm gonna tell you this. There's much more success in regular jobs. You can become a lawyer, you can become a doctor, you can become something more stable, and you have a better percentage at getting into that job. So I would not get into visual development, artistic job at all if you don't have the calling, if you don't have the artistic eye of you in the world, if it doesn't, fill you up, that you're bursting with creativity and you really want to pursue this. Because I'm gonna tell you, today is gonna be kind of like, even, how would I call it? It's going to be a harsh experience from my perspective. Only 80%, only 20% of you, or even less than 20% who are sitting in this chat or sitting in the Discord server, sadly, will make it in the industry as a professional artist, full-time, and getting paid for that. And that's okay, because artistic person doesn't need to earn money to be successful at what they do, and if that brings you a little bit of kind of like discouragement, that's okay. I understand you. The industry is really hard, but the percentage of you getting in the industry should not scare you, because if you love what you do, and you really, 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 really think that this is the important side of your life, and you just can't live without it. If you have enough dedication, if you have enough discipline and everything else, eventually you might be able to work full time as a freelance artist. You might make it in the industry as a VISDEV guy. But I just need to warn you in advance, it's going to be really hard. All of my friends that made it are crazy. They are crazy. They put crazy amount of hours day to day into personal projects. They love what they do. And if you gonna take the element, what if you're not gonna be paid for it? Will you still do it? The answer is certainly yes. So from the beginning, you have to understand that odds of you making in the industry are I wouldn't say super slim. It is possible, but it's gonna be really, really hard. And the only thing that is gonna balance this out is tremendous love for your craft, and it's a lifestyle, and it's like breathing. And if you don't have that, when you make it in the industry, it's gonna be even harder to maintain your job as a professional, because you are, first of all, gonna slowly become hateful towards what you do, and that's gonna reflect on your paycheck, that's gonna reflect on your job opportunities and stuff like that, because without love for your craft and without being a little bit crazy about it and not having a calling for it, that's what results in bad animation projects, bad game development projects. And sorry, I'm starting with such a negative tone a little bit, but it's really important. And my heart is sometimes, broken a little bit, because I see so many artists and creative people kind of being broken and discouraged at the beginning of their art journey and not having fun doing that and not enjoying the most creative and most awesome and most productive time of their lives, which is the beginning stage. Because I'm looking at them and in my mind, man, you have no idea what's ahead of you, because ahead of you is deadlines, horrible deadlines, weird assignments, complications with your schedule, running out of money if you're a freelance artist, and many, many, many more things that are super challenging. And the only justification to go through this epic and amazing adventure, honestly, for me it was, without the love. Because every human being needs to understand the pain that you go through in artistic career has to be worth it. Because if it's not worth it, where you at right now, and if it's not enjoyable pain, I guess, and if you cannot endure it right now, then it's going to be even harder here. So in advance, I'm telling you, your success for the next 10, 15, or 20 years comes from your approach to your art right now. So first, the world around you has to inspire you for stories, has to inspire you for painting, has to be so overwhelmingly cool and awesome that your hands are itching to paint, you're bursting with ideas, and if you're not gonna do it, it's like not breathing. So that's artistic perspective on the world. Every piece of music that you listen to, every character that you are talking to, which is gonna be, I don't know, your boss, your mom, your brother, your friend, has to inspire your artistic journey, your paintings, your stories, your world, and stuff like that. Because if you're not gonna have that, it's gonna be really hard to unnaturally come up with those things. And we're gonna talk about how to develop an artistic eye and sense for story and storytelling later on. Secondly is discipline. A lot of people, they, my general rule of thumb is if you are painting 10 paintings each year, and let's say each artist has 20 paintings in them that they have to go through to get to the good painting. So just imagine, you need to do, I don't know, let's say 6 Saki paintings to get to one on the 7th try to a good painting. If you're only painting 10 times a year, you're gonna have only one painting. But if you're gonna do 10 paintings a month, you're gonna have one good painting each month, right? So that's when the discipline comes in. When you're like inspired, you know what you're gonna paint. You really wanna transfer this feeling that you just experienced in the world, and then you just put your bum down on a chair and you start painting. And sometimes during this stage of the painting, you encounter problems. You encounter burnout. You have no idea where you're going. You don't know how perspective works. You have no idea how color and light works and stuff like that. And that's where the love for the art comes in. Because when you have discipline and hard work, it only carries you this far. But it is possible to, with discipline and hard work, discover love for for the painting itself while you do it, as you get progress. So that's why love for the art comes thirdly, right? Because a lot of people love painting and they want to make them a full-time job, and then when it comes to actual painting, they go, they deflate. So that's why discipline and hard work comes above love. You can't technically put it in the same area because love is hard work, love is commitment, love is discipline. As a married person, I can tell you that. You're not going to always experience love right here and right there, but if you work on it, then you can experience it. So that's the third thing. So you're here. Let's say you have talent or you have no talent, but you have the artistic calling and artistic perspective on the world. And you go in and you're a little bit lost, but you know what? You're discovering some YouTube channels and you have the discipline. You wake up and you paint for an hour and a half each day as a start. Then you make it more and more and more and more until you paint, I would say, ideally 5 to 6 hours if you're a beginner. When I was living in the trailer, I had 2 day jobs. Well, one was a night job, one was a day job, and I had 4 hours in between that I was slept. And when I had a 1 day job, I had around 6 hours to paint after my 10-hour day job. And then I painted all the way through the weekends. And see, discipline and hard work, and sometimes sacrifices for the greater good, they pay off. Another thing you have to understand, that for people who just paint on their free time casually, there's no problem with that. And I envy sometimes people who have the ability not to become the best. They enjoy the activity of painting just for the sake of painting. But if you want to succeed as a visual development artist, or any artist in general who wants to have results and get that job and get to that studio, discipline, hard work, and sacrifice. That means not playing a lot of video games. That means not buying the stuff that you like, so you have more free time or resources to buy a course. And all of this sounds a little bit negative for some people, but for me, when I was doing that, I didn't care that I didn't talk to those people or these people. I didn't go out to McDonald's, or I didn't go out for movies, for example, because I had a goal in mind. And that's another thing. So you need to have a dream. You need to have a dream that makes you feel comfortable in it, that inspires you the most, that makes all the pain that you're going through. And dream could be also, you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to be a little bit naive, right? Because that's what's gonna carry you through all of those years when you have no clients. So for the first 3 or 4 years, I had 2 subscribers on ArtStation. I had no job leads. A lot of people said that my art wasn't that good. But you know what? Because I had an artistic eye and I imagined all of those things and all of those worlds, and I wanted to learn how to put them on a canvas. And because I had developed a discipline and hard work, because I had a day job, and I knew that if I would not apply discipline and hard work and sacrifice, I would never get out of a day job. I would never get to the job that I wanted to, which is just being myself, just being creative every day. And because I have the love for what I did, and every downfall or every sucky painting, my approach was this: I'm not a professional yet, but I love what I do, and I'm improving little by little. I'm better than I'm yesterday, I'm better than I'm 2 days before, and all of this pain that I'm going through is all worth it because I have a dream. And that dream is I want to touch people's hearts through my art, tell stories, and want people to experience the same thing I'm experiencing through my artistic eye, right? And if you have this kind of approach, all the hard work and dedication and discipline becomes more bearable, it becomes more fun, and honestly, you'll stop caring about how hard the grind is, how hard it is to, put the time after a day job, or how hard it is not getting the likes that you have on Instagram, because you have a dream, you want to achieve it, and you love what you're doing. And if you're enjoying the process, the outcome will be successful for the most part. There's some very unlucky people, but if we're going to think about in general in terms of percentage, if you're going to have this mindset, which is discipline, hard work, sacrifice, and loving what you do, and a dream in mind, everything else will come secondary, and it will be easier to go forward with your artistic journey. So this is just the mentality of what you should focus on, right? And the dream can also be paralleled with the main quest, your main adventure. Because dream itself can be very vague a little bit. Like mine, I'm sharing my dream. I want to share stories. I want to touch people's hearts through my art and make them experience what I'm experiencing through my artistic eye. But it's a little bit too vague. So that's why you need to come up a main quest or a mission. So a lot of visual development artists that I know who succeeded, they were very goal-oriented people. They knew what they wanted, they analyzed the industry, and they were hyper-focused on that. So another thing, you need to have an ability to hyper-focus for your main quest. And that's my recommendation for all of you, because a lot of people, you should experiment in the beginning. So let's say this is a chart that shows character design. This is a chart that shows environment design. And you dabble in all of that. That's good when you're just beginning. But then what they can do is they focus on just one thing. And that's usually becomes their job. We're talking right now on super beginner artists who are just starting out and trying to figure out where should they push. A lot of starting visual development artists, they were hyper-focused on one thing. They had their dream, and then they figured out the main quest that will help them achieve their dream. So mine is, I want to create my own animation shorts and series and stuff like that. And for me to do that, I need to break into the industry. I analyze what I'm good at, or I saw the things that I developed that I'm good at, and I made a goal. I want to be a freelance artist, color key artist, and I stuck with it. So that's you in the beginning, not knowing what to do, only able to look at the world through your artistic perspective. No one understands you because you have to... Another thing that artistic people have to understand, that not everybody in the world thinks like you. And if not everybody in the world thinks like you, it can get pretty lonely. And here you are, lonely you, just like me, 7 years ago, looking at all this journey ahead of you, and you're like, man, what do I do? First, you sit down with your bum and you start painting, and you raise a bunch of questions like in the visual development. Here's you sitting down, developing discipline, waking up at the same time, having that dream in front of you, going to Disney, going to Pixar or something like that, and just figuring out what's your next move. Maybe you find a VISDEV camp like this, and this is you sitting right now being terrified what's in front of you, right? But you have the discipline, and you're hardworking, and you're sacrificing a lot, maybe not hanging out with friends, and you love what you do. And that's the key. You love what you do, and you're pumped, and you want to go forward. Then what you do is you develop a victory plan. You hyper-focus on one thing that will bring you to the next level, which is getting a job. But you have to understand that getting a job is not the most hard thing to do in the visual development career. So right now we discovered just the mentality aspects of what you have to think about or develop, which is artistic perspective, discipline, hard work, and love with what you do, and develop a dream that will carry you through all the hard work and grind. But when you get a job, it's getting even harder, because now you not only you don't need to grind anymore, but you have to prove that you're worthy, and you have to stay relevant. And that's when other parts of crucial skills comes in. That's when people skills come in. And people skills can also come in the early stages, but people skills is one of the most, I think, important traits of a good VISDEV guy. You can be a jerk in the industry if your portfolio is amazing. And I know a couple. Their portfolio is so amazing, they can be all the jerks they want, and they'll still get jobs because they're that good. But for most people, we're mortal people. People skills is what you get you jobs. That's what maintains you jobs, and how much it secures you financially, and then helps you grow in the industry. So one of the most important qualities of a VISDEV person is teamwork. Teamwork-oriented person. That they can support, like in MOBAs, or they can carry. I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. So another little sentence that I like to put next to teamwork is this question that you can always question your art director or fellow artist. How can I make your life easier? This is super important, because if you're going to have this mentality, first of all, you'll be golden in the industry, because that's what we do. We make another human being's life easier down the pipeline, or with someone who is working parallelly with us. And another thing that you have to understand, that art directors, when they hear this, and if you really mean it, you will work for them forever, because their job is so complex. And if they have one person to rely on, and you always keep them in mind, and you think, all right, a 3D person is going to do this, or my art director is a little bit too overwhelmed, let me do parts of his job maybe, even though he didn't ask me to. So you're a good supporting character. You ask them on a call how they're feeling, even though a lot of people think, well, it's being professional and conversation like this shouldn't happen. But I'm telling you about my experience in the industry. And my experience in the industry is this: artistic people are very emotional people. And when everything is too professional, those are not the best teams that usually do the things. The best teams are usually that can be open, that can discuss almost everything, and they become friends. And when friends work together, that's when the best projects usually come out of it. So you not only can be a great supporting person that goes on the call and says, hey, you look a little bit overwhelmed, let me do this thing. Another person can do that for you too down the pipeline. But you also great at supporting and carrying. So for example, it could be support carry. You're supporting through doing all of the jobs. Like for example, I had one job, and another artist was not meeting the deadlines. Either they were overwhelmed or it was too hard for them. And I said, you know what? Don't stress about it. I'll do this thing and you focus on this thing. And I'm okay with doing a little bit of extra work and carrying this project on my shoulders. And a lot of the times, other people did that for me. I work with Toby all the time. And sometimes the task, Toby is a great artist, and we work all the time with Toby and Borja, the guest speaker that was doing the second lecture. And I was doing like 3 paintings, and Toby did 6 paintings in the same time frame that I did three frames. But it's okay, because sometimes somebody takes a little bit more that they can carry, and another one can support another person. That's totally fine. So yeah, teamwork orientated, that always questions, how can I make your life easier? If you're going to have this mentality through your entire life, you will get more jobs. Another thing, you have to be very empathetic. And that's all. Whoops, need water. And that's not only important to understand how your art director feels or other people feel and stuff like that. Because a lot of the times you will get on Skype calls, you will get your job interviews, and you have to understand how another person feels. You have to get in the headspace of your art director or other artist to sometimes get the right answers. So for example, some people will come to me, and I know that they're at the later stages of production or something like that. Everyone is very overwhelmed. Everyone is super stressed out. And I can be the person on the call that says, everything's going to be fine. I got this. I only have 10 days to do 25 frames. You think we're not going to make it in time? I know you're worried, but that's fine. And then you worry for them when you're going to do all the 25 color keyframes in a 10-day span, right? But it's important to understand how other human beings feel, not only to make their life easier, but also to understand how to create better art yourself, because we all human beings, and when we look at an image or an illustration, right, we need to figure out, what do other people gonna feel when they look at it? How the story is gonna touch them? Are they gonna experience the same thing we're experiencing? So empathy is really, really important. Another thing is you have to be, that comes from empathy, you have to be a mind reader. And I'm not saying you to practice witchcraft or anything like that, but you have to be really good at psychology and understand what other people think. Because most of the times when I'm talking to art directors can be great at expressing what they want, or they can be really bad at expressing what they want. So I have to first be really good at talking and giving them the right questions. But at the same time, they can look at the one painting to the left that's going to be super blue, and on the right painting is going to be super orange. And 2 sessions before they said make it blue and make it orange, and they say none of this is right. And you're going to experience this frustration and not understanding what are you doing wrong. So what you have to do is fill in the blanks. So he didn't like the blue, he didn't like the orange, so probably what he means is he wants to have cool shadows and warm light, or cold light and warm shadows, something like that. So that's why I say you have to be a mind reader. And only after all of this, we're gonna go and tackle hard skills or painting skills, actual craft that we're gonna do, so painting skills. And those are super easy, because all of this and all of this, it's a mindset that you have to practice every day and develop every day and be conscious about it. And you almost never can become the best at it. It's going to be really, really hard. Painting skills, all right. First, you learn perspective and form, right? That is super simple. You just do it. It's a step-by-step thing. There's a 1-point perspective, 2-point, 3, 5, etc., etc., etc. You learn form and value. You learn color theory. This is a paintbrush, and imagine that this is a color wheel. You learn anatomy. All the things that you need for your profession, you can just download this into your brain and practice it. This is the easy part of our profession. You just go ahead and do it. Just by discipline, hard work, sitting your bum down and doing it. That is not the hard part. The hard part is to keep that fire going within you and understand. Let's do it in the heart right here. Keep that fire going in you and understand why sacrificing going out with your friends sometimes is worth it. Why experiencing no followers and no recognition on Instagram is worth it. Why, sitting down for 10 hours and painting and being frustrated about it and not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel when you're gonna get a job is worth it. That's the hard part about being an artist. Because what I see right now is all of you guys are focusing on the easy part, which is let me focus on the artistic painting skills, the fundamentals, which are super important. That's good. But why does this situation happen? A person who technically has, let's say, a Wacom tablet, has all the technology, has all the opportunities, and maybe even has a mentor, maybe, or can afford all of the courses in the world that they can afford, but at the same time they will have no motivation, their portfolio is not growing, and they're not going anywhere. It's because the problem, for the most part, and all artists, honestly, me too, it's not the painting skills, it's not how to paint, it's not the fundamentals, it's not the anatomy, it's not the color and light, it's the mental approach, it's the mental justification. Why should you do it? Because a lot of the times we sit down at the canvas and we're thinking, oh, I'm gonna do a great epic painting because I'm gonna get a lot of like and recognition. They're gonna get a lot of likes and recognition because I'm gonna have this super prestigious job that is gonna have a lot of money in it and stuff like that. And you know what? It's okay to pursue those things, but it should not be the first thing. The first thing has to be, it's the artistic eye, the artistic perspective. Because if you're not gonna do it, you're gonna go insane. Because your brain is so overwhelmed with so many ideas and you need to express them. It's like breathing. That's the first thing. And then, as artists, we have to figure out a way to make sure that we continue what we're doing. And getting a job is just a way to continue living, continue breathing, continue doing what we're doing, but every day. Because you should get a job, not because you want to have prestige, you want to be famous, you want to do blah, 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 but because you want to continue what you're doing every day and not get interrupted by something else. So, for example, I was at this stage where some of you guys are already working. And the hard part about working is you have to maintain it. That's where people skills come in. You're a great team player, and you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you keep the fire inside of you, and really good craftsman because you learned all those fundamentals, and you keep the eye on your dream, and then you get one AAA job, you get another AAA job, you get some followers on ArtStation. And I'm gonna tell you this, guys. If your dream job or your idea of what successful artist is many followers on Instagram, good AAA projects, and money, and that's your main goal, you shouldn't be in the industry for that. Because this comes as a side effect of you looking at the world through your own eyes and telling your stories, being disciplined about it, and loving what you do, pursuing the ultimate dream that should be greater what you could ever achieve. That comes as a side effect. Because I know a lot of people who have this as their goal, and some of them could be very successful, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the ultimate way of thinking. This is just my way of thinking, and you can either agree with it or disagree with it, and that's fine. But in my opinion, the ultimate success, which is good projects, good money, and followers, comes not from pursuit of those things, but from pursuit of your artistic voice, from pursuit of what makes your heart tingle and tickle, right? And from the love for what you do. Because you will be doomed for success. I have no idea how to spell this word. Imagine this is success. You're going to be doomed for success if you're going to have all of this. Because the only person that I can refer to is me. Because that's the only person that I knew the best. And when I was starting out, I was smart about marketing. I was smart about talking. I knew the industry standards in terms of pay. But I never started painting because I wanted to be rich. And no one should do that. Being rewarded for your hard work, that's good. But the paycheck and the money and the recognition comes only if you have this fire in you, fired up and going, and people will feel it. People will look at your work and people will talk to you on the calls, right? People skills or they will look at your ArtStation page on your Instagram, and they will feel the realness, and they will feel the innovation, they will feel the artistic creative voice. And if you're going to implement all of those things that I talked about in the beginning, you will be successful. You will be successful. But what if I am not successful, Misha? Then you should be satisfied with that too. Why? Because you're not doing it for those reasons. Those are a nice bonus, but you're doing it because you're called to. It's your adventure. It's your journey. Your goal has to be not money, not AAA projects. Those will come as a side effect. It's the path, the journey itself. You have to, I'm gonna be honest. When I was in the trailer, living in the winter of Wyoming, and drawing on my little crappy bamboos with a half-dying laptop, I was happy. And sometimes even happier when I was working as a full-time freelance artist and getting pretty good money for what I do. And that's why, for example, I'm doing now what I'm doing here, which is teaching. Because I did not know that, and I was tricked, like a lot of people in the beginning, that the final goal is to get a job. The final goal is to have those AAA projects and have many followers on Instagram and ArtStation and so on, and you will be fulfilled. I really thought that. And then when I wouldn't say I'm super successful with followers and everything else, but I got to the point that I never thought I would. And honestly, it brought nothing. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. You're like, okay, it's another job. Doesn't matter if it's Supercell, doesn't matter if it's EA. Even though I love working for those guys, I love working with those guys because I'm working with the people that I love and I can be creative. But that's not what brought the most satisfaction. The money itself, since I started where I started and I live frugally, I'm okay with sacrificing things. Money, as long as you have food and some clothes, that's fine. Money doesn't bring also happiness. It brings you an ability to do something else with your time. And that's what I'm doing right now. So for example, the money that I saved up from freelance, now because of that, I can continue investing into myself, into the fire that I have in my heart, which is one of them is passion for teaching you guys. And I'm here because of this. Because of this mentality. And I'm going further on because of my dream, which is touch people's hearts with my art, with my animation projects, because it's everything. It's music, it's film, it's philosophy, script writing, it's acting, voice acting, everything, right? But that's what keeps me going. And I'm gonna be honest, art camp is super hard. I took a lot of things that I did not know that it would be this hard. But you know what? This is the pain worth going through. Why? Well, because I love what I do, and this is part of my dream. And if you're gonna develop the discipline and the hard work, and you always keep this fire within you, which is love and passion for the journey, plus your dream somewhere at the end of it all, things are gonna be much easier to go through. Yeah, what else did I want to talk about it today? Yeah, I think let's just recap. Or no, let's go a little bit forward. I'm gonna just kind of show you, if you're a true artistic person, what's gonna happen to you later on, right? Because I've seen this many times. So you are in the beginning, and we discussed that all you have to do is just look at the world a certain way, get your bum sitting down on a schedule and paint every day and love the journey. Become super hyper-focused on one thing, you will get a job. And then meanwhile, you get some friends, like you get friends here on the Discord, and you get your camaraderie going, and you're probably going to get hired with those friends on AAA projects. And then your portfolio is going to grow, and then your painting skill is going to grow, and your following is going to grow, or maybe not, doesn't really matter, but you're going to be successful in some way or form. And then at the end of this journey, when it's going to go for a few years, you're going to get bored. You're going to be like, is that it? because all your artistic jobs may not fulfill that the first thing that you had in the beginning, which is this artistic fire. And in the beginning, the artistic fire is fulfilled, and it's growing here even more when you get the jobs. But at some point, you're gonna accumulate so many experience and so many stories that you want to go independent. And that's what a lot of people do right now after a few years or a few decades in the industry. Some do it earlier, some do it later. But for example, for myself, I love freelancing with my producers and directors, but I'm turning down a lot of freelance jobs that are not fulfilling anymore that are not with my friends. And you'll get this kind of freedom later on when you develop your skills, when you'll get to the point that you can turn down jobs because you have so many. But even then, when you're going to be turning down jobs, you're like, you know what? Remember that thing, that dream that could have been from the beginning or developed during your artistic path. You're like, remember about that? And then you'll go towards that. And that's usually something super unattainable, but that's what keeps you going. And for different people, it's different things. For me, I will not give up until my Lumber Saga project is done, because it is my life, it is what I want to do, and is it too ambitious? Maybe. Is it getting in the way of my life sometimes? Maybe. But you know what? Every time I am frustrated with where am I at life, or with my artistic skill, or with anything, I'm like, all right, what I'm going through makes sense. Why? I'm getting a freelance job because I'm getting money and I'm getting experience, and I can implement all of this into my dream project. And you know what? I had Lumber Saga all the way in the beginning of my art journey, and then when I was studying, I implemented all of this into Lumber Saga. When I was freelancing, I was implementing all of this into Lumber Saga. And when I'm gonna be further on, maybe without freelancing, just independent, everything that I do is gonna go into Lumber Saga. And that brings me to another thing. A lot of successful VISDEV artists have their own project that they learn everything through, that they're project based. They could have 1, 2, or even 3, and they can switch in between them, maybe 5 or 6, right? But you know, Toby had his own project, he has his own animation project, and he's going to talk about it right now. Borja, the director, has his own passion project and things that he's working on the side. I have 3 stories in mind that I'm working all the time. And I think it's really important for you guys, even when you're just starting out, and that's why I think this VISDEV camp should be beneficial to many. It's because there's such thing as study artists. People who do endless studies, photographs, form, perspective studies, and they're just that. They just produce great studies. They're study artists. Their whole portfolio can be filled with it. But at the end of the day, the industry hires not study artists, they hire artists with their own stories. So for example, I was lucky that I had a story in mind for a really long time. And every time I learned something new, I would implement it right away into my project. So a lot of VISDEV guys or artists are project driven. And that's great because, you know, you get hired for what you are. You don't produce out of the blue just portfolio pieces that are there for the industry, which sometimes people do. But for example, if you look at my portfolio on ArtStation, my ArtStation portfolio has 2 client works, even though I did more than 3,000 to 4,000 color keyframes over my entire freelance career. It's because is my PC burning? Sorry. It's because I value showing my own personal work and my own artistic voice more than client work. And over time, I still got client work even without posting more of the client work. Yeah. So let's recap to make this diagram a little bit cleaner. So in the beginning of every artistic journey, what we have to understand that either we were born that way or were developed that way, we have an artistic understanding, an artistic eye for the world. And I have special heart for creative people in general. Not a lot of people think like us. I don't try to put us on a pedestal, but we're pretty special. And it's hard to encounter it's hard to encounter a true creative person. So you are special from the beginning, and you have to maintain this. And to maintain this and to express it, you have to develop hard working skills. It's day-to-day routine, discipline, with your creative goal in mind. You have to be able to hyper-focus on that goal, to get an ability to do that thing full-time and maintain your artistic voice, because it's frustrating to go on a day job and to do the thing that you're not called for. And there's nothing more horrible than a person doing what they do not love, what they're not called for, and they do that not because they want to, but because they are afraid to pursue what they're trying to pursue, or they lack the discipline or planning or whatever it could be, right? And then after you develop those skills of hyper-focus, discipline, and you are working in the industry, you have to maintain your job, and you do it through making other people's life easier, being a good, empathetic, teamwork player that can support and carry the project on their shoulders, and also be a good mind reader to understand what other people want from you, and make their life even more easier, because if you understand another person just from few words and you can fill in the blanks, you can be super valuable. And in the background of all of this, painting skills, which is form, perspective, value, color and light, anatomy, storytelling skills, and so on and so on and so on. All of this is just in the background. You're not going to ever become the best. The progression chart of those fundamentals are like this. And we're going to cover most of them here in this. But you're not going to ever become the best. You're going to only become as good as the qualification for the job is to be in a professional industry. But the growth in terms of fundamentals is exponential. You will never become the best. And if you will become the best, you probably will know that you can be better. So you have to only compare it to yourself. So if this is you and your fundamental skills, you just compare to where you've been in the beginning. And with this mindset, you should accomplish great heights in your, VISDEV career. And then all you have to answer for yourself is, am I still called to do this? Can I do something greater? All right. For example, for me, I didn't get bored. I still enjoy doing freelance work, but it was not fulfilling anymore. My artistic needs were not met, and that means I have to find a side quest, and my side quest was teaching. I love teaching, brings me joy, and that's what pushes me to the next level, because when I'm teaching and talking to you guys, I remind myself why I do this in the first place, and I remind myself where I have to go, and I have to serve as a good example, because teaching is I wouldn't say it's a burden, but it's a huge responsibility, because you either can inspire and make another person better, or you can discourage them. And remember, in the beginning, I told you that not a lot of people will make it in the industry. And that's okay. Why? Because we're here for the journey. We're here for the love of the craft, for storytelling, for our own vision of the world. And everything else comes as a positive side product. With a little bit of marketing skills and a little bit of people skills and being smart and being at the right time at the right moment and sending the right email and stuff like that. But at the end of all of it, we're here to tell our own stories, our own perspective on life, because it's a physical need to be creative. And we're gonna use the painting skills and painting fundamentals and craftsmanship to our advantage to make our vision and make what we feel physical on the canvas. But I'm gonna tell you this, the mentality that I talked about in the beginning, I had it since I was a child. And the only thing that truly changed, that now I can express it through actual paintings. So what I want you guys to focus on is to focus on yourself, how you see the world, what makes your heart tickle and tingle, writing down those ideas, thinking about the emotion, thinking about the quality of ideas, and then learning the ways to express it. Because right now, a lot of people have it backwards. They're learning how to paint and how to do pretty images, and then they're like, all right, what do I have to tell to the world? I say try to evolve those things at the same time. And lastly, but not least importantly, let's talk about kind of like the fundamentals of what makes a good VISDEV person. So we have people skills, painting skills, and mindset. So this is the mindset. So what's is specific to a VISDEV person? So VISDEV artist. I would say story is king. And I honestly, great storyteller. That's all you have to know. Because VISDEV, it's all about that. It's about what a person experienced in their own life and then projecting on their imaginary character that they're painting for Disney or Pixar for themselves. It's thinking about an environment and figuring out how did they eat in that environment. Were there Vikings and were they hunting a wild boar that is 5 times their size, or is it just a French baguette and what's inside of it and stuff like that? So for VISDEV artists, the most important thing is strong storyteller. If you're a strong storyteller and you have good painting skills, there's nothing I can come up with. It's not good drawer, not good painter, good storyteller. And everything else should not get in the way. If you're a good storyteller and your painting skills are lacking a little bit behind, you probably will still get hired because they will see the value in that. So yeah, for VISDEV guys, everything is super simple. Story is king. If you're going to follow that, and that's going to be in your portfolio, and it's going to be not badly executed, because if you think about the story, that means you are good at story through colors, story through composition, story through design. That's why simplifying everything, story is king. Because that's gonna influence every aspect of your shape design. Story is king. Is he super sturdy because he's super Viking epic chieftain? Story is king. Shape design is defined by story. Values. Is this a scary scene or is this a happy scene? You pick a high value range or a low value range. Super contrasty or less contrasty image to define the keyframe. Color, same thing. Anatomy. Is he super crooked and scary? What the story says me. That's why story is king. It influences everything. So yeah, and after you get the job and after you are successful in your life as a VISDEV person, you should always have dreams that are unachievable. So for example, for me, unachievable was to, know how to paint in digital. Then it was the next dream, getting a job. And then the next dream, getting a AAA job. And then the next dream, getting paid a little bit more maybe. But then I had one ultimate dream always that, always made my life a little bit easier. Because I could answer myself, you know what, yes, I'm painting until 4 a.m. and I'm doing my personal work after freelance stuff. And I'm taking extra freelance work and doing some work for free. But I'm doing all of this, or I'm taking 3 months off and teaching a Valhalla art camp. But all of this makes sense. This is all worth the pain. I'm enjoying this hard experience, challenging experience that might bring certain pain, but I'm loving it. Because all of it at the end is worth it. And if you love the path that you're taking, if you love the process, and you're sitting down and every brushstroke is a joy for you to make, even if they're sucky and poopy, you will succeed in life. So yeah, final advice for you guys. Please cherish your artistic voice and your artistic perspective on life, because you are special. Not a whole lot of people think like you and look at the world like you. It could be very hard because you are an empathetic person that, you know, experiences the ups and downs of this world even greater than a regular person. But that's okay, because that fuels your art. And please find that discipline. Please find that hard work and sacrifice rhythm for the greater good of your career. Because it's, you know, we have to understand that for us to have something ultimately good, you have to sacrifice something that is nice and cool right now, but are gonna lead us down the path of, I would say, darkness and discouragement, but not where we want to be. So yeah, and then please enjoy what you do, because right now, if every brushstroke is hard for you, if you're not enjoying what you're doing right now, and fundamentals are hard and not enjoyable, and you're always complaining how sucky you are and how unskillful you are, that's a bad mentality. You are a professional in the making. You are only comparing yourself to what you've been yesterday. And it doesn't really matter, because you're gonna suck for the rest of your life. I look at my paintings and I'm not satisfied with them. But you know what? I like that piece of poop on my canvas. Why? Because my artistic eye and mindset and what I wanted to tell people is there. Maybe it's just the execution is not there. And if you have this mindset, if your painting turns a little bit sucky, you're like, you know what? I'm still inspired, and I'll try again and again and again until I get it right. Yeah, and again, find your main quest, hyper focus on them, so you can do your day-to-day activities on a day job, so you can be creative every day, because that's your calling. Again, you guys are very special people. Not a lot of people think like you and see the world like you. And for people like you, we're going to get in the next Brad Birds and the next Avatars and Iron Giants and Incredibles and so on and so on and so on. And then I hope that probably the main thing that I'm going to tell here is you're not going to settle for less, right? You're going to always answer this question. Is my fire still going on? Am I still here for the right reasons? Am I still doing it because I love it and I'm enjoying it? So, yeah. And if you're going to answer all those questions and follow this mindset, success will be just a side effect. It's going to come in naturally. And it's going to be glorious and super fun. So, I think for today, that's it. Don't get discouraged that not a lot of people will make it in the industry because it's really hard. Please don't get discouraged. Despite of that, accept this challenge for the sake of the challenge, for the sake of the path. And with some good luck and some friends and some connections, hopefully, eventually, you will make it in the industry. But even if you don't, do it for the sake of doing it. Even if you're not going to succeed and not going to get the money, do it because you're called to. Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the recognition. Those things will come as a nice side effect of you being faithful to yourself in what you do. So yeah, for now, we are done. Hopefully this was useful. So if I discouraged anyone or scared anyone, but I have to be honest. So Please continue with your awesome painting of your character in your environment. And please join us for the Q&A session in the Discord channel. And for people who missed the live stream and missed the live Q&A session, too bad. Please don't do that, because all the fun comes from actual networking, talking to people, and interacting. So yeah, this is it for today. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the Q&A chat. Bye bye.